Hello to everyone. How are you, fellow viewers? We present to you once again the Hot Eyes show today. I hope you are going to enjoy the show, and every Sunday we promise we all you a Hot Eyes show every Sunday. Today we have an interesting topic. We are going to be having the guest who happens to be the Secretary General of Humanists Zimbabwe, reflecting on him on how they celebrated the World Humanist Day. And my guest today is Blessed Masuku. And always don't forget to subscribe, to follow, to like our programs so that you won't miss any program whenever we go live. Masuku, we welcome
Yo,
you in the studio. I have just said a little bit about yourself. I just say you are the Secretary General of Humanists Zimbabwe, and I said that we are going to be reflecting on how Humanists Zimbabwe are celebrating the World Humanist Day. So you can introduce yourself before we go further into our show. The best way you want to be known. If you want to be known as a cat, introduce yourself as a cat.
uh, I think my name is Mkulisi. I've been a member of the Zimbabwean atheist community since 2012. We have been doing some work together. We used to do some work together with a bunch of guys as Zimbabwean atheists, and then we shifted. We started another organization, and then in the end, we just decided to combine our efforts and create Humanists Zimbabwe, which I'm the SG, and you, of course, as the president. But other than that, I'm just a regular guy, man. I do web development, and I'm a teacher, and I love sports to a reasonable extent. I think that's all there is to it. Just another human being.
Thank you very much for the short and precise introduction. Anyway, we are both humanists, we are both teachers. For today, we won't mention where we differ. Let us say mention where we are the same. We are both teachers. We are both humanists. Um, we want you to take us through the lens how humanism is faring in Zimbabwe. For a start, how is humanism faring in Zimbabwe? Is there presence, meaningful presence of humanism in Zimbabwe?
Oh, meaningful. Of course, there's a meaningful presence. I don't think this in itself is a meaningful presence, right? Maybe if you were talking in terms of scale, to say, is it's are we what are our numbers compared to the Christians or compared to other communities out there? In that department, we're not doing very well. Um, in fact, there was a time, I think there was a time which I would consider the golden age of non-religious communities in Zimbabwe. That was somewhere between 2015 to 2018. I think we had a very vibrant community at that time. I think we had about 20 active members that were working in different aspects to shape up the vision. But eventually, eventually, things just sort of died down a bit. But now we're working towards a resurgence. I think you and I have been working closely on that. Um, so I think one of the reasons why it has been like that, why there hasn't been any growth, it's you know there was no service to what we were doing. We were just individuals that came together because they shared a common belief system or because they stood against a common belief system. But beyond that, there wasn't really any conversation or any effort to, the important questions on how can we contribute to our societies, how can we as humanists, as atheists, give something tangible to the community. So as a result, you realize that we have groups where we have humanists and atheists that exist right now, some of them that date back to 2011, right? But they can go quiet for like a month or so because there wasn't anything that we were striving towards. It was just people doing their thing, and eventually when that leaks, I think people just lose interest at some point. What's wrong with my network?
Yeah, I can't deny the temptation to agree with you that the years between 2015 and 2018 were the golden age of humanism in Zimbabwe. Actually, for myself, I wasn't a humanist as far as 2012. Actually, I started to gravitate towards humanism in the fall of 2014, early 2015, and actually in
Mm.
2016, I was feeling like, yeah. So I think a number of people, I don't know what was happening, a number of people, a number of Zimbabweans, actually, maybe it was what they call the gist, the spirit of the time in Zimbabwe. Even some civil society organizations, they used to go on the street and protest for different reasons. So I think it was a time where most of Zimbabweans felt that they should express themselves. They should come out of the closet where they were before. And I think also humanists also take the advantage to go out of the closet. But
Mm.
unfortunately, you mentioned that a number of initiatives died naturally. But as we speak, here we have Humanists Zimbabwe. But I'm sure it didn't start as Humanists Zimbabwe. So you can take us down the line how Humanist Zimbabwe came to be, when and who were the founding members, who were the passengers who actually came on board later on, and etc. etc. The history up to what we are today, up to the stage where we are today. Take us down the line.
Oh, that's a very long story, but I'll try to make it short. Um, so there was a group at some point on WhatsApp that we first interacted with. I think there were three guys there. There was the first guy. I can't disclose his name because he has long since distanced himself from atheism and from everything that we were doing. Um, but he is the one who put us all together, and he was the founder of Zimbabwean atheists. It's quite crazy when I tell people that. Do you know that the founder of Zimbabwean atheists, the first atheist organization, is now a Christian? So, uh, so yeah, he put us in together, and then I remember among the first members there was Auton Mungani. You probably know him as Necessity. He was our editor at the time. We were writing articles, putting them on the Zimbabwean atheist website. There was Tapiwa Muzira. He's the one who designed the first website that we used as Zimbabwean atheists. And there was Takudzwa Mazienduna. He was the coordinator. He was the centerpiece of everything. He was the one who was paying for our web hosting. And at the time, uh, guys who were managing web hosting companies were ripping us off, bruh. It was expensive, and Takudzo was sacrificing his money to pay for that. Um, and then there were guys who were managing the Facebook page, the one that we ended up renaming to Zimbabwean to Humanist Zimbabwe. So after that, um, things just like things died down because priorities and all that. This is something that we're doing for free. So priorities, when they come in capitalism, you gotta make money in your time, right? So that's when things just went silent, and WhatsApp communities became more active, And that's when we started experiencing real sharp differences in individuals. We had more conservative humanists, we had liberal humanists, and a great split happened there. So after that, there was me and Nekambanje in Lawayo. We still wanted to explore how we could develop humanism. That's when, and we wanted to develop it as an individualist philosophy, because we thought the only person who can understand your experience as a human being is yourself, and it is your burden, it is your responsibility to articulate your understanding to the world so that you can connect with others. So that's why we created an organization called Peach. That was project for integrating cultures in humanism, because that's what we were particularly interested in. To say we knew humanism could not exist in Zimbabwe in isolation. We had to find a way of integrating it with other cultures that we thought were useful to enhancing the human experience. That includes, there was yield, youth led. Um, I don't remember the abbreviation, but and then all these other organizations, feminist organizations that we wanted to work with. So that's when we created Peach, and then it was just a blog to begin with, by the way. Along that line, I came across Humanist International. That was the game changer for us. Those guys, they just started helping us understand how to align our objectives, how to build up our objectives as an organization, how to think beyond ourselves. Start building a community that is so sustaining, a community that can live beyond us. So we decided to rename to Humanists Zimbabwe. But before that, we got a grant. That grant took us a long way, and that's when we built that studio that we have now. And all of the projects that we have, I think they got resuscitated from that. So it's been a long journey.
Thank you very much. And you have just mentioned that you just got the grant from Humanists International to come up with a studio to produce content, digital content for that matter. And if my eyes and mind is not deceiving me well, you seem to be in that studio. Am I right?
Yeah, that's where I do the work now. Yeah.
So
Um,
you can tell us how you affiliated with Humanist International and how how they saw the progress and the grant. What is it about? Is it for recruiting people? Is it for creating content? Of course, I said creating digital content, but that is not enough. For some people might want to know. Of course, I'm saying this despite being a host. I'm also a member of Humanist Zimbabwe. So some of the things like I'm leaking information, but you, as the Secretary General, you are the hub, and you know every document, you know every receipt and everything, because you are the most accountable person when it comes to the organization. So you are the rightful person to tell us and on what you are doing with the grant and what are the intention. Which audience do you intend to reach? If that audience is reached, what's next to sustain the information? How people can join Humanist Zimbabwe, and what are
which is
your future plans? And are you engaging probably different ministries of the government? For example, as I said, you are a teacher for physics. I am a teacher for heritage studies, family and religious education. It's very interesting that a non-religious person is interested in teaching culture and religion. But I think it's the best teacher to teach that subject because
yeah,
that person will teach objectively. So, and if I
you're right.
look at the curriculum for Zimbabwe, it's actually somehow humanistic in nature, despite the fact that the parents are actually trying to say no to that curriculum because they think that other religions, other than Christians, are getting the opportunity to be heard. But us as humanists, we say, let everyone be given a chance to explain himself or herself. And we say, let children choose. If they decide to choose a religion, let them choose. from an informed position. So, as Humanists Zimbabwe, what are you doing to support such initiative? And are there any organizations you are working with towards pushing that? And at the moment, tell us about your relationship with Humanists International. Are there any other organization you're working with? I think one of the organizations is Humanists International. To you.
So, in terms of organizations, I think the only organization that we have been working with, no, I cannot say working with because Humanist Zimbabwe is a member organization of Humanist International. So, most of the things that we are doing are in line with what Humanist International believes in, and in accordance with the Amsterdam Declaration, because that's what we subscribe to as Humanist Zimbabwe. So you asked me a question to say what the grant that you received, what was it for, right? So to be very blunt with you, I need to be as honest with whoever is going to be watching this. The main purpose of the grant is to recruit people, and I'm not even gonna, what do you call this, sugarcoat that. We want to recruit people, we want to encourage people to be humanists, because the major problem that we face, if you go to the fourth article in the Amsterdam Declaration, it talks about humanism as a solution to selfish nihilism, right? And when you look at it, that is the greatest obstacle, that is the greatest challenge that we are facing as human beings right now. Life is meaningless, life is suffering. And in the face of religious dictations, uh, that suffering at some point becomes unbearable, because you always have that doubt. You can't prove that God exists, therefore you can't really prove that he's working for you in your life. So at some point, when things really go bad, most people lose faith. And when they lose faith, they have nothing, right? So as humanists, we believe that the only thing we can give people is belief in the self. They have to trust themselves. They have to trust that any problem can be solved as long as one comes into it with an open mind, free inquiry, and looks to understand the situation. So we're looking to teach people about humanism, to recruit people who subscribe to this belief to this. I don't call it a belief system, but a life stance, right? To this life stance that they get to appreciate the world and themselves as they are, and look to develop outside most of these dogmatic ideas, right? So that's the main purpose of Humanist International at the moment, or of Humanist Zimbabwe at the moment. And you asked about whether we're working with other organizations locally. Yes, we are, and most of them, um what can I call them? Most of them are small. We're working with mostly small businesses. Um, that includes a lot of freelance video producers, a lot of freelance musicians, a lot of freelance sound producers, people who are teaching debate, people who are teaching public speaking, people who are doing anything that encourages critical thinking, because humanism itself needs critical thinking as a foundation for it to be accepted. So those are the people we're working with. And as an organization, we have shifted from trying to tell people what we believe to being an organization that looks to serve the communities that we are working in. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, you said humanism seeks to free the people from the shackles of your religious dogma. And as humanists, sometimes, um, we might probably failing to address certain questions. And you earlier on, you mentioned about the founder of the atheist community in Zimbabwe, that he left humanism and went back to Christianity. Was probably he
Mm.
felt that his life was somehow empty. And 3 weeks back, one of the most And the well-known humanist from Somalia, our sister, our beloved sister, in the words of Richard Dawkins, we still love him. She recently converted to Christianity, and I saw Richard Dawkins struggling to convince her that you're not a Christian, but you're a political Christian that is in iron his alley. And when I listened to the conversation she had with Richard Dawkins in New York, in America, I realized that she was saying her life was somehow empty. So there are certain questions, probably, what humanists say on those questions. Number one, what happens when a person dies? What happens when a person feels that he or she no longer have any idea on how to solve a certain life, a certain life threatening a problem? What, as humanists, can we offer? How can we fill in that vacuum from a Zimbabwean perspective? Because I think as Zimbabwean, we should have humanism, which is explained to the Zimbabwean people in the Zimbabwean language, not literally language as in Ndebele or as in Shona or Tonga or Venda, but a language which is closer home, a language which is understood by the Zimbabwean community, so that they won't feel empty. You know, religion gives a lot of comfort sometimes. When you lose a relative, they come and offer. Sometimes what they offer is not spiritual, but they offer entertainment. They sleep the whole night singing. If we have a humanist dying today, can we go and spend the whole night entertaining the relatives of the person, singing or something like that? What, how to answer those questions about death, about what happens after death, what happens when a person is extremely sick, probably with a disease like cancer. I don't know if you're getting where what I'm trying to say. I'm giving all this background
I do.
so as to just clarify the question.
From your question, I got two things. You asked what does humanism offer in terms of ceremonies that help people cope with difficult times, right? And then the second thing that I got is what does humanism offer individuals in moments where they go through existential crisis, right? So those are two things that I got, two questions that I got.
Yeah.
I'll start with the first one. The first one, in terms of now, what does humanism offer in ceremonies? They have been There's humanist ceremonies. It's one of the most exciting things I come across. And I'm also I went I'm a humanist celebrant. That means I can facilitate a humanist wedding. That so when you decide to have a wedding, you can always call me, and I'm still working towards regularizing my paperwork with the local council, local government. But we have our ways of doing things as humanists. There are humanist ceremonies for weddings, humanist ceremonies for funerals, for baby showers, name giving ceremonies, all these other things that are there. What humanists like, why we need a lot of people to subscribe to humanism is the fact that the more people we get, the more we can build that community. You understand? Um, at the moment, here in Zimbabwe, we can offer you something. Like right now, if you have a problem, I will come to your aid instantly because you're part of my community. I understand you as a person, right? So I think that's one thing we're looking to say. Let's build up our numbers, and then we build a self-sustaining community. I think this is a conversation that we've been having dating back to when we first met, to say, how can we create a system that can support not just our members but our community when it needs help, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing, you said there are certain questions that humanism needs to be able to answer, like what happens after death, right? And where did we come from, and all these other questions. And you ask them as if religion, you said, what does humanism offer to fill in the void? You ask as if that void has been filled. That void hasn't been filled, my friend. Deep down, we all know that life is meaningless. I think we all do. I think if we know that the abyss is always staring at us, and we know that life is meaningless because any moment that we experience, no matter how intense it is, it passes. No matter how much you try to cling on to every moment, it dies. We are dying in every moment, right? So that in itself just shows you that everything that we cling on to because it passes away is meaningless. And religion cannot stop that from happening. That is the greatest threat that we face. That is nihilism. Once you see that, you can't unsee it. The abyss just starts staring at you. You see yourself dying in every moment. You see things losing significance in every moment. And the reason why religion is losing its grip among the youths is because the youths are becoming more and more exposed to that meaninglessness staring down at them. Right? So religion never filled that void. Religion only tried to keep people in a cage from looking at that void, right? But then eventually people break out of it. And when they do, that's what happened to your friend, Ayani Hisi. She became an atheist. And when she became an atheist, she came face to face with that abyss, that meaninglessness, that nothingness. And it consumes you, man. It consumes you. You have been there. I know you have been there. You know it when it faces nothing, food doesn't even taste the same. You understand? Most people would call it depression, and I think it's just nihilism manifesting in your consciousness. But then the only solution that we have, because all of the things that we're experiencing are human phenomena, the only solution that we can give people is to trust that the human condition can rectify it all. Once you start looking into the community, once you start understanding yourself as a person, and you you try your best to appreciate the world and interact with everything as it comes, also understanding that there are certain things you can't change. Time will pass. This is the one life we have, and you'll die. That's what we want people to understand. And once you understand that, you live your life in a very meaningful way, meaningful and intentional way. So there's those questions that you're asking, like, what happens after we die? You are dead. What happens after you die? People continue to live their lives. You are dead. You understand? So people need to be encouraged to think rationally about these things, to welcome these things as a part of life and move on. The same way that we accept gravity. We just move on. I don't know if that answers your
Thank you very
question,
much.
but
Thank you very much for the show. Anyway, the title of our show today is Humanists Zimbabwe, celebrating World Humanist Day. So our conversation is in celebrating that. And one of the greatest advantage we have as a Humanists Zimbabwe, I don't think throughout the world there is an organization which is as youthful as ours. So we are guaranteed probably of the next 50 years of sustenance, and
if we
probably
live, if
let's hope
Matthew,
we won't face the crisis of people like the founder of athletes community in Zimbabwe, or our sister his who actually left the non-religious community. So I think that alone, but this is not, it's not like an interview where, of course, I'm asking you a lot, but I think it should be a conversation with, because we are both humanists. I am the
mm,
president, you are the SG, so we are trying to reflect. And I think it's a high time, Masugu, that we should consider uh, being more visible, probably by becoming, yes, you're already a celebrant, and I think you need to formalize with the state so that you meet all the
mm,
requirements of marriage officers, and we need probably even chaplains, and other, so that there are certain services which are being offered by religious people which were not offered, like chaplains. Chaplains shouldn't be reserved for religious people only. Eh, Marriage celebration shouldn't be reserved for religious people. Naming
mm,
and
that's
other
true.
things like even charity shouldn't be reserved. So we should actually prove to the Zimbabwean community that there is nothing special about religion, because we can still offer what they offer.
Mm, mm,
So
mm,
I think all those things, you have to consider that. In the past week, I was approached. in the past 2 months with two people, young people again, who were saying, we thought we are the only humanists in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, I
Actually,
remember that.
whenever a person realizes that there is a community, though small, a community of humanists in Zimbabwe, they're so excited that they feel like they've found themselves, because they will be thinking, probably I'm alone. And I think if we keep on opening up, it will help us. So I think it's high time. I'm sure there are some people who can actually help humanists in Zimbabwe. What can we tell them? So, because there are some people who might actually be interested after listening to this program. They want to help us to do a particular project. Probably they want to help us to train chaplains. They want to give us something. Probably we have some people who are willing to go. Probably if you want to be a chaplain in the security forces, some people willing to go for some, although physical training and theory there, that because you can't be a chaplain, you can't work with trained people when you're not trained. You need training, maybe prisons and other things. So some people might be watching and might be interested. So what can we tell those people who are interested in supporting what we are doing already, and who can help us to, or suggest to us to do something?
I think let's start with the most important thing, where they can contact us from. I think they can contact us mostly on Facebook, on our page Humanists Zimbabwe. That's where we have our email there, and our contact phone numbers are there as well. They can contact us there, and then we also have an X handle. They can message us there as well. Um, our headquarters, currently temporary headquarters, is in Masvingo. So for whoever wants to see the work on the ground, the studio, and what we're trying to offer the community, that's where they can find us, right? But then, as a way of trying to motivate them, if they are not sure uh, whether we are the right people to work with them, there's one thing I just have to say: there are two types of people in this world. There are those that believe in mankind, those that believe that all problems are surmountable, all problems can be solved through human thinking, through science, through innovation, free inquiry. And then there are those that have forfeited human responsibility in solving problems. We are not the latter. We believe that we can solve human problems. We believe that human beings should be encouraged to be active, to innovate, to create, and to improve their communities. So if that's something that interests them, they can contact us. We have been working, we have been through different things as individuals. We didn't even know each other 5 years back, yet here we are. So it just goes to show, look at most of the members that we have heard, what they have contributed to our community. We are just people who are motivated by the desire to make things better for everyone. It's a place of people. We live in a world full of people, and the only way to make the world better is to make it better for people around us. So I think that's the only thing I have to say. I don't know if that's enough. What do you have to say as the president of the organization?
Yeah. What I have to say, especially to fellow Zimbabweans who feel like they share the same vision with us, the first step towards freedom is opening up. And a number of people, especially for me, have approached me because I've opened up. Of course, I know it sounds like a risky in a country like Zimbabwe, being courageous enough to go on radio station claiming that you are non-religious, going on TV station claiming that you're non-religious, publishing something which will be online forever, people reading about you, saying that you're non-religious. It sounds like a risk, because sometimes you might think that you will lose a certain economic opportunity. But I think it's better to lose those certain economic opportunities if those economic opportunities are coming with an oppression tag of not allowing you to think outside the box. So it's better to lose that one. And you always find people who align with your goals. I have met different religious people, especially when I was doing the show Faith on Trial. I used to engage at different pastors on television. When we go to the dressing room where they do makeup, you know, majority of those pastors, they will shake my hand and they say, I didn't know that even people who are non-religious know scriptures and religion better than religious people. And I'm sure a majority of humanists, they know religion better than the religious people. And that alone, that alone is a good thing, that alone, that you have to know religion in and outside. And it helps you because nowadays, the period we are living in, it's different from medieval era where you will be killed, where you will be stoned, where you will be maybe thrown into fire for not believing. Nowadays they can insult you, they can do whatever to you, but you can still defend yourself. And I'm happy some religious people, they see the goodness in what we do. They acknowledge and they praise us a lot. And so I'm saying step number one, open up, engage with fellow humanists. I know the journey for one to be openly a humanist is an uphill task, and it takes a lot to open up. Imagine having parents who are extremely religious, that the ones who are feeding you every day, you eat their food, and they're sending you to school. You wake up telling them that you're non-religious. So
Mhm.
we are here. I think another thing we have to add, besides these things of marriage officer and what's it, don't you think we are supposed also to come up with psychosocial help, especially to help those who are living religious? Because it's psychosocial to help people. Because sometimes you find a person becomes is from faith becomes agnostic, becomes things
Mm.
like, I might be wrong, tries to go back to religion. But I think they need a sort of like a codified way of how to live religion. Yes, let
Do
us
you think that's
reiterate
possible?
this. Let us
Do you think
reiterate.
that's possible?
Yeah, it's possible. And we should make it clear this. We have nothing against any religion, but we won't stop helping those who want to live it. We have nothing, and we respect your beliefs if you believe in whatever religion. But we are worried if you are believing in that particular religion from an ill-informed position. We want you to be informed. If we inform you
Mm.
and you can still go on with your particular sect, we are happy that you are doing that out of your own conviction from an informed position. So I think as humanists in Zimbabwe, we should help. We should offer a social support. Yes, we have been personally. I've been trying to come up with something also around that, especially for people who want training to be priests. I'm one of them. Who want training to be imams, want to be training to be rabbis, because I think for them they get more stigma than others. Because just imagine at some point you are training to promote a particular religion. You have offered yourself that my whole life I shall be promoting this. Then and people have actually invested in you, and they're actually seeing the ambassador of the so-called God. Imagine that's seeing an ambassador in you. Then the ambassador will just leave the office saying, "No, I don't want to represent the person I told you that he sent me before." People they say he's crazy now. Imagine he was telling us that he was sent by God. Anyway,
You think they wouldn't
I
have
normally
calculated that?
I, I normally tell people that by the time I was training to be a priest, I was stupidly religious. While I was stupidly religious, I later on realized that I was too innocent to be a priest. You seem to want to interrupt. You can say something.
No, I was just asking if you think these religious organizations wouldn't have calculated that for every batch of priests they try to produce, they'll probably lose a certain percentage, either to atheism or to other circumstances. They would have calculated that. It's not a loss for them. It's nothing surprising. I think any smart institution, and you have to know this, religious institutions were crafted by very smart people. They calculate all these things. It's not a surprise. I don't think it will be a surprise to them. Um, just to go back to what you had mentioned on whether we can give people a structured way of navigating their lack of faith. I honestly don't. I'm not a psychologist. I don't understand how these things work, and I've been one to downplay mental health issues. I just think as a man, whenever you find yourself in feeling low, or you think your mind is, sit down and be very honest with yourself right there and they have those conversations that you're not comfortable having with yourself, and then you'll find your way. If you haven't found your way, then go to sleep, wake up the next morning, you'll find your way eventually. So I don't think there's a structured way of handling this. But of course, differences, we have those differences. But the only thing I can recommend anyone who is going through any crisis, any mental crisis, find a community as quickly as possible. The first community I interacted with when I became an atheist was the Atheist Republic community, the forum there. It has millions of people, bro. And when you get there, you find people who are articulating the same things that you're going through. So find a community as quickly as possible. Human beings are social creatures. So whatever crisis you're going through, there's a community that has overcome that crisis and has thrived. So get in that community, learn as quickly as possible. No amount of therapy or structured course can teach you better than lived experiences. So as opposed to trying to create a course, let's make our communities more accessible. Let's direct people towards finding communities. Because when you go to the Humanist Zimbabwe website, there is a page that I edit there for communities, which I just put a bunch of links there for Atheist Republic community, for Reddit, Atheist Reddit, like Reddit community, Facebook, Zimbabwe agnostics, and free thinkers, talk to humanists, WhatsApp group. I just put a bunch of lists there. So whoever comes onto a website and isn't sure of where they want to go, or is trying to at least navigate whatever crisis they're going through, the first thing I would recommend is go to the community quickly. And once you do, you start having debates with those people, you start having conversations with those people, and nothing affirms your existence more than another human being who validates the experiences and the emotions that you're going through. So that's my solution to the problem you mentioned there.
Yeah, I understand. So in other words, you are actually saying it is the mechanism to navigate is there already. We don't need we don't need to reinvent the wheel. The wheel is already there. I think that
Yeah,
that is the point we're trying to play.
the wheel was already there. We could
Am
improve
I
it.
right?
Probably put some air hydraulics there. Probably improve. There's always room for improvement. There's always room for
To make
improvement.
them tubeless.
We just you make them tubeless, hey, and all those other things. But I think the wheel's already there. And when you look at it, um, look at how Humanist International has been trying to grow humanism in Africa. You have young humanists, Zimbabwe, Africa. You have regional coordinators, people who are working towards making sure that whenever there's someone in Africa who's looking to build a community for humanists, they already have other people who can guide them. No, you do this, you do this. You have the perfect example of one of the most successful communities in Africa, is atheists in Kenya. Those guys have a brilliant interface. It's arguably one of the best UIs and UX designs I have ever seen in terms of non-profit organizations. It is it is welcoming. It teaches you. It's like you get into a house that just shows you, oh, this is the room for this. This is the room for this. And if you're looking for this, you can find it here. And you don't have to do any thinking. You just get to where you want to get, and you make your choice when you get there. So that's something we have to work towards. First, it starts with us. We have to create organizations that are tailor made for service, for serving people. And then people will come to us. We just need to be more empathetic in our designs, I think.
Yeah, I'm also impressed with the example you mentioned of atheists in Kenya. I actually saw that, is it a month ago, their president was actually invited at a breakfast prayer or some sort. Their president
Eh,
is too religious. Let us those in Kenya don't take offense about this. Their president seems to be too religious. He normally calls for pastors to come and pray at State House. I was happy I saw their president being there. And that alone, I think, is a great achievement. And at some point, he was arrested, and whatsoever, like the issue of our brother in Nigeria, who is also in prison, our brother Barack Mbala. I think maybe they're doing well that side in West Africa. I think East Africa, Uganda, I don't know the experience. Maybe in Southern Africa, we still have to up. And I saw Humanist Malawi is coming. It's coming. I think for us, can we judge ourselves or we let the people judge us?
we,
Yes.
we, we might as well judge ourselves, because you can't get anywhere if you don't judge yourself, right?
we can,
It's,
we can do self-assessment.
yeah, it's always necessary. It's always necessary.
So if we can do self-assessment, so can we call ourselves as the best humanist community in the Southern Africa?
No, we can't.
We can't. So we are still far.
We're still far. There's a lot of work that we need to do. Um, we we need to. We have our vision. We have our objectives. I think we just now need to shift our attention towards the things that we said we would do. That is, first of all, create that interface, because that's the first and the most important thing. Creating that interface, where whenever someone comes across us, they find us as an organization they can interact with and freely ask questions of us, and go away knowing that they've asked the questions they wanted to ask. Because we have to know it's not about us, it's about them. They have to be there and find us and say, can I ask these people this? Because everybody has a question. Like, everybody has a question. And it might not be well articulated, because the whole articulation of questions is a whole different skill altogether. But as long as they feel they have expressed themselves, they and we try our best to address what they want, that will be okay. So I think that's the first thing. We know that it's about the people, and then we start interacting with institutions. Then I think growth should be organic after that.
Just a reminder to our views. Today, Humanist Zimbabwe. Yes, here I am, the president of Humanist Zimbabwe, with my brother, the Secretary General of Humanist Zimbabwe. We are celebrating World Humanist Day. Yes, it was on Friday, but we decided to celebrate it today, telling people about what Humanists in Zimbabwe are doing and what we intend to do and how we came to be. So we say thank you to the digital era. We say thank you to science. We prefer science. Now, despite us being two in this studio, we have a chance to be watched by the whole world celebrating World Humanist Day. Thank you to Humanist TV Africa for giving us this opportunity to celebrate the day as Zimbabweans. I think we are the only one who have celebrated this day in style like this. I don't know if others did. we are not competing, but we are sharing so that in next year they can do like what we are doing. And we are also, we know that the prospective people who might be willing to help a Humanist Zimbabwe. Masuk actually told you where to find us. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on our website. You can find the information where to find us. And currently, as we speak, yeah,
That's the page there.
yeah, that's the page there. Yeah. That's the page for Humanist Zimbabwe. That's the website for Humanist Zimbabwe. So you can go there. You can find all the information you want. We even have some podcasts, where we're talking, where we're discussing some issues around the Humanist Zimbabwe, and you see all those links that are prepared for you. So make use of those links. And so those who want to help us, whatever way you want to help us, probably it's with material, probably it's financial, probably it's personnel. We'll be happy to see humanists from other countries coming to Zimbabwe, probably for a particular program. We will be very happy. We are open for collaboration. Please help us. Please collaborate with us. We told you earlier when we are one of the most youthful humanist community. Among the key leaders of Humanist Zimbabwe, for your own information, no one is above 35. So we are very youthful. We need some material, we need capacity building, we have a lot of energy. So the greatest capital we have, the greatest resource we have is human resource. As we conclude this virtual celebration we are doing, I'm sure this video will go far and wide, and I'm sure fellow humanists in different parts of the world will actually share with their friends and take time to listen to this. Your final words, Masu, before we close the show. Just your final words. I give you up to 5 minutes or less. I'm sure you can. There's something which I left out, which you feel that it should have been addressed. So you can just address it in 5 minutes. Then we close the show. Then people, they enjoy. We know those who went to church, they will come back and they will enjoy, and they will regret why they went to church, because probably this one will be like a better service than what they had at the church. Anyway, nothing against religion. Over to you.
Final word. I don't know, man. I think the one thing that I would like to say is sometimes if you're out there and you're struggling, because I think most of the people that are going to be watching this are people who have been struggling with these questions. You know those questions, right? And all I can say is I know you encouraged people to go out there and put themselves out there, but I would encourage them to just sit down with yourself first. That's the first thing. Sit down with yourself first, and whenever it is that you start thinking of these things, just listen to yourself, because a lot of people are afraid of listening to themselves. I don't know why. Um, I came across atheism at a young age. I didn't know what it was, but I was afraid of asking those questions too. So just ask those questions and find a community, because if you don't, you become isolated. And when you're isolated, you become very vulnerable to a lot of bitterness and anger that you don't really need to be harboring in your heart. And then to people who are already in the community, uh, those are the people I would say, come out, man. Let's get working. Let's get working. There's work that we need to do. You can see how, I know you won't agree with me, but you can see how religious thinking is eroding our communities. You can see how it's stifling our development. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So come join us and let's get going. That's my final word.
Thank you very much. And I think if any sane mind listened to this celebration would realize that we are two different personalities pursuing one
Yeah.
goal. We
Yeah.
and you would listen that you would find I have my own view on a particular topic as well, and that alone shows the difference between religion and humanism. Humanism is not
Mm.
dogmatic. We can't be forced to view a particular topic in the same way. We
Somewhere. Yeah.
we are proud to be different. There is strength in being different,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we are, and maybe there's some people who are just watching us over the screen. We are very good friends. We differ amicably, and sometimes we spend weekends together. Past weekend we were together Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, we didn't have the ladies. So I have to mention that when we said we have a lot of fun, probably mm, our ladies might hear this and say, "Ah, so my boyfriend was having fun." Anyway, we only to ourselves, enjoying ourselves as independent humanists, taking some drinks, chewing some meat,
Mm.
and having some conversation, creating some content, and etc. etc. If you want to see some of the things we have been creating, I don't know if our Secretary General Masuku has managed to finish the editing process and posted. And our producer, we have to be proud of our producer. Our producer is so on point. We are talking of website. He displays it.
Mm.
People see those
Plays it. Yeah.
links and now go and enjoy. You saw how aesthetic, you saw how our website was designed. I think people will enjoy looking at it before even reading anything. So thank you to our producer. Our producer is behind the scene. Dennis,
The
he's
laptop.
actually in Uganda. Thanks to technology. Thanks to this was a product not of prayer. It was a product of science. Thanks to technology.
Mm.
He's in Uganda, but he's producing our show. I am in the capital city of Zimbabwe, Harare, and you are in the capital city of humanism in Zimbabwe, because that is where our headquarters for humanism now is in Masvingo. So you can see Masvingo is the humanist capital for Zimbabwe, and I'm from there. That's my home area. So, all right,
Hey.
it's the home of humanism in Zimbabwe and the capital city of humanism in Zimbabwe. Thank you to our viewers. Don't forget to subscribe to Humanist TV Africa, which has actually given Humanist Zimbabwe an opportunity to celebrate a World Humanist Day while being watched by the whole world. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. Just say at Humanist TV Africa. For inquiries, you can send an email info@humanisttvafrica.com or contact us on the WhatsApp number which is being shown on the screen, or visit the website www.humanisttvafrica.com. Till next time, thank you very much. Next Sunday, we come again with another Hot Eyes show. Please don't forget to engage Humanist Zimbabwe. Help Humanist Zimbabwe. Be part of Humanist Zimbabwe. Grow with Humanist Zimbabwe. A better society can be achieved through us all as humanists. Thank you very much.
Yeah.